Hello everyone and welcome back to Integration Ninjas. Today we will be diving into the world of deploying Spring Boot applications using GitHub Actions and Elastic Beanstalk powered by AWS. AWS Elastic Beanstalk is a fully managed service by Amazon Web Services that makes it easier for developers to deploy, manage, and scale applications without having to worry about the infrastructure. It supports various programming languages and frameworks including Java, Python, Golang, Spring Boot, and allowing you to focus on your code while it takes care of the deployment details. In this tutorial, we will walk you through the process of configuring GitHub Actions for automated deployments and deploying a simple Spring Boot applications to AWS Elastic Beanstalk. Whether you are a beginner looking to streamline your deployment process or an experienced developer exploring new deployment methods, this video is right for you. Let's get started. In this video, we will have a simple Spring Boot application. There will be no database connectivity. We will create a GitHub action like a workflow file we will create, and in that workflow we'll add some steps. We will build the project and we'll add a action which will deploy our Elastic Beanstalk, our Spring Boot application to AWS Elastic Beanstalk. That action, what that action will perform, that action will like upload over the Spring Boot application like jar file to the S3 bucket, and then it will create a new application version and will deploy the new application version to the AWS Elastic Beanstalk environment. So let's go to the AWS platform and let's see. We click on the AWS Elastic Beanstalk. We can search and go to the Elastic Beanstalk, and let's get started. We can see like it's a easy to use service for deploying and scaling web applications and services. Deploy with Java or any other language. Okay, create an application. So we need to select web server environment and we need to give a name for our application. Let's name it as Spring Boot example and then app. Since my project name is that, I am picking this name. You can add any other name, it's on your choice. And we can have some environment configuration. This is the environment name, -env is added after this, and domain, like I will just keep it like that only. I will check the availability. Okay, this is available. This will be the domain name where the API will be accessible, and I will just leave this description and we'll click on the manage platform, and we need to select the platform as Java here. And since my project is based on the Java 17, so I'm going to use Java 17 here. So here like we are going to use the Amazon powered Core to Java 7 JDK 17. Okay, and this is the platform version recommended, so this is fine. For the initial phase, like I don't want to upload from this, I will just we can try a sample application powered by Spring Boot and we can try. Okay, so let's do this, and we will just deploy a single instance only. We're not going to add any other instance because we are just going to use free tier functionality only. So let's click on the next, and here what we need to do, we need to create a service role here. We can create a new service role. If you have any existing one, you can use that. I have already created one, but I'm going to create a new one for this tutorial. And we need to give a EC2 key pair to securely log into your EC2 instances. That we can do. I am not going to add anything as of now since we don't need. I'm like want to handle it by AWS itself, and we need to give a EC2 instance profile. For that, we need to assign some permissions to the role. So let's see what permissions required. Like we need these permissions: AWS Elastic Beanstalk web tier, and then worker tier, and then multi-container Docker. So let's go to the IAM console and let's create a role. We need to click a roles here, and then let's create a new role, EB role, Elastic Beanstalk role, EC2. Okay, we need to create a role, and we need to create a use case EC2, and let's click on the next, and we will search policies as AWS Elastic Beanstalk. So here like we need web tier, worker tier, and the multi-container Docker. So let's see if these are the correct. AWS Elastic Beanstalk web tier, yes, and another one is worker tier. Worker tier is also there, and we need a multi-container Docker tier. We have this as well, AWS Elastic Beanstalk multi-container Docker. That's it. We need these three permissions, and let's click on next and assign a role name as EB role EC2 or any other name you can create, and let's create this role. The role EB role EC2 is created, so we can see the permissions of this role. We have these three permissions here. Let's click on the tab and cancel this and just refresh this, and we'll see our role will be added here. We can see from this drop down, and we can select it and click on the next. And after this there are like few settings like networking, database, and tags. If you want to edit these details, but I don't want to edit any of these details since I don't have any API like I don't have any CRUD operations related to DB in my application. That we are going to see in the next video, where we will set up we will deploy a Spring Boot application that will have the database connectivity, MySQL or Postgres. That time we will manage this, and we'll just leave these settings and click on next. And we can see the configure instance traffic and scaling. We'll just leave these settings and click on the next. We are not going to update any of these details, and configure, update, monitoring, and logging things. So yeah, we don't need to edit any of these details, but yeah, I want to add a property here that we are going to use as a port. We are going to listen our application on the port 8080. I'm just adding this because I've seen behavior that it's by default running on the 5000, but maybe I'm not correct, but I have just adding this as 8080. So let's add that, and let's click on the submit button, and we can see the AWS will take care of the all the infrastructure. It will create all this infrastructure. So okay, role name Elastic Beanstalk already exists. Okay, so maybe like we need to create a new role. Probably we can see here. Okay, let's use this existing one only then, or we can create a new one, but I have already that same name, so I can use that. And let's click on the next. We don't need to edit any settings now. Let's click on the next as it is, and let's click on the submit now. Will not face any problem this time, and we can see the AWS is creating all this infrastructure and will launch our environment. It will take like almost 3 to 5 minutes to spin up all those details. We can see the logs here, like what is the event will be triggered by the AWS Elastic Beanstalk. So the create environment starting, and the S3 buckets for the environment data. It is also assigning a S3 storage bucket as well, where we will be able to like upload our application new versions. And environment health has transition to the pending, and security group is also created. So it is like taking care of spinning up all those infrastructure that is required to for our Spring Boot application. So since this is in progress, we can focus on the application, which is Spring Boot application example. Here we are going to work on this branch deployed to Elastic Beanstalk, where I have created some API. We can look on that part as now. So what that API will return. So let's run this locally. So we can see the API will be I have created a API which is like returning the Bitcoin current price. So this is the current price of the Bitcoin 64918 USD. We can check the Bitcoin latest price. It's around that nearby, so it's like almost accurate. So we can it's a public API, so I'm consuming this. So that's it. We are consuming this, so this we will deploy. And let's go to our Elastic Beanstalk. It's still in progress. We can see the EC2 instance is in progress. Okay, so now what we need to do is, as we can see in our keynote, like we are going to create a workflow file and we'll do all these details. So let's create a folder. Let's create a directory .github, and under that again a new directory which will be workflows, and in that let's create a file with cicd.yml. okay, here now we need to add a property like name, like we're going to name our workflow like deployed to Elastic Beanstalk. All right, and when it should be triggered on the push event on the particular branches, which is deployed to let me just check my branch name here, or we can copy from the browser itself. Yeah, I just want to trigger my workflow on this particular branch, not on any other specific branch. That's it. And after that, what we are going to do, we are going to define a job which will be build and deploy, and which will be running on the Ubuntu latest runner, which is a GitHub hosted runner provided by GitHub to perform our CI/CD things here on the repository. It's limited feature, but we can utilize this, or we can use our self-hosted runner as well. I'm going to use this Ubuntu latest. And once this is done, we are going to write some steps, which will be, first step will be like checking out the source code. Check out the source code, and for that we will use action provided by GitHub Actions checkout version 4. This is the latest one. And again we are going to, now what we have to do is we need to set up the Java in this project in the environment, that Ubuntu latest system. Maybe by default they are using the Java 11, so we need to set up the Java 17 there, so we can build our project, right? So we are going to use a action provided by GitHub, which is setup Java action/setup Java. Let's see this on the Google, what is provided by this action setup Java. So these are the things here, like action setup Java version 4 and the distribution and all these things. So we can utilize this. And here it is accepting few parameters, like we can see the distribution, and we can use the Java version also. We are going to use Tamarin, and then Java version 17. All right, this is done, and this will set up the Java environment variables and everything in the Ubuntu latest runner. So we don't need to do anything. Action will take care of that. Here now what we need to do is we need to build the project, because we need to build a jar file for this project. and for that we are going to run a command. So we'll give a tag as name run keyword here, right? And we are going to mvn clean install. I will just skip the test case because I have not written any test cases yet. All right, skip test. This is done. Now what we have to do is we need to deploy our code to the Elastic Beanstalk. Deploy to Elastic Beanstalk. Now what we are going to do, we are going to use a runner. We are going to use this runner, which is a runner like provided by any open source contribution. This is not provided by officially AWS, but this is a good feature that will take care of deploying the apps to the AWS Elastic Beanstalk. It will take the application name, environment name, version name, and the region and the file name, few things as parameters, and upload the file to. What it will do, as we seen in this, right, it will upload this to S3 and will create a new application version and will deploy new application version to environment. So it will do the same thing. It will wait until the deployment finish and logging any messages from the environment during the update. So all these things, so we are going to use this, and we can see there are like these many things are there, so we can utilize this. So probably I have tried on the 21 version, so I can be on that. And here we need to provide AWS access key and the secret key. I hope you already have all these details, so I'm not going to tell you the steps to how to create the AWS access key and the secret key. You need to create this, and you need to add these things in your GitHub Actions settings, and the actions, not here, in the security section, and click on the actions, secret and variables, and you need to add here AWS access key and then AWS secret access key. So all these things you need to add. And now application name. So what application name we have given, we'll just add these details. And the version label, I will just give the commit ID. We will just name it as dollar and then github.sha. All right, so what is our application name? Our application name, so we can see this, everything has been done like added instance, but let's focus on this SpringBoot application example env. This is our application env. Done. And now what we have is maybe like this small, and the application name is -app till this. That's it. And the region we have is, I think, US East 1. Yeah, US East 1 we have the region, so we'll just update this. And the deployment package is nothing but our jar file that we have. Once our project will be built, it will be under the target and then springboot -example.jar. So we'll just add this target / springboot -example.jar. That's it, and we are done with our changes here. So we can see like what we have done, like we added a few steps: check out the source code, set up the Java to the Java 17 in this runner, and then build project, and then Elastic Beanstalk, deploy to Elastic Beanstalk. All right, so let's commit our changes and see if everything works fine. Before that, we'll just see how this looks like the API. This API is there, so the API is there, and we can see the app is running and listening on this particular domain name. Now we are going to create a new version. So here, if I duplicate this tab first, we can see S3. We will open the S3 bucket, and we'll see a S3 bucket with the name of Elastic Beanstalk, and this is the ID. And we can see the .elastic beanstalk and the resources, environments, everything that is done by default. Now our action will deploy a new version of this application. So let's do this. Let's click on the terminal and I will just add this details, git add dot and git commit -m deploy to AWS Elastic Beanstalk, and I will push everything. Maybe if there is any mistake, we will just correct these details. Alright, and let's click on the action section. If everything works fine, I hope. Let's see the action is triggered or not. Oh, there is some failure. We'll just see. User's attribute must be a path, Docker image and everything. Where exactly is this? Is it telling some line number? Owner slash repo @reference, probably. We'll just see where exactly this is. Check out. Okay, in the setup Java we just missed this out. Let's go back, and what version we have used is, we can use this. Okay, version 3 or 4, anything we can use. Let's just version 3 or version 4. All right, and we'll just commit this detail again and just push these changes. So once these changes will be pushed, action will be triggered automatically. We can see here. Now this seems to be correct. So our job is running. Let's see if it is getting picked. There is some error again. Unable to resolve actions checkout, repository not found. Okay, this is also again wrong actually, like some mistakes I am making, like typo mistakes and every other mistakes. I hope you will not replicate this. I will just correct it. We should not do that actually. It's bad practice. So let's see now if this time it should work properly. Again, this is fail. Wow, nice. And okay, there is one more typo. So we'll just revert this at, and we'll just add and comment everything, and we'll just push it out. I'm just trying it in the real time. I also trying like second time only. So we'll just do this. No, this is an old job. We can see the new job, and this is getting triggered now, and we can see the setup Java is completed and the project is getting built. All the dependencies required in this project is getting downloaded. So let's wait for this, and we can see, like, once our action will be started, we can see the logs will be appearing here. Right now the log is around 23:54 time, and after that it will be getting updated. We can see deploy to EB is in progress. So let's see here. So we can see here Elastic Beanstalk is updating your environment. To cancel this operation, select abort, but we are not going to do that. And we can see the new logs are coming up here. Environment update is starting, deploying new version to instance. So this process will take like almost 1 minute max, 1 to 2 minutes. So we can just wait here, and we can see the status for this environment is successful and the health status is okay. Environment update successful and our application will be deployed. So we can see here all the details has been updated here. We can see in the buckets also a new project will be created where we can see the jar with that our commit ID. All right, and now what we need to do is we need to click on our application name, and we can see the API is getting deployed here. So we can try accessing the other API, the current price of the Bitcoin, and we can see the result are coming up. So that's it. how we can deploy this. I know like I just made some mistakes, like typo mistakes. These are silly mistakes, we should not do that. Like I run like multiple times, 3-4 times, but this is a like overall like thing that that is being corrected. And we can see our application is done, and we can check the health status also, and this is okay. And we if we want to, if you want to see some logs also, you can request the logs here. Suppose I want to access full logs or last 100 line of this logs, I can access this. We can just click on this download, and it will show up the logs, like the application startup logs, last 100 line of logs. It shows all these details, and we can see everything here. That's it. So this is the way, like monitoring is also there. If you want to, we haven't added anything, but if you want, you can add also alarms, and we have not added any alarms. So these are the logs related things that you can see, right? So that's it. We have successfully deployed our Spring Boot application to AWS Elastic Beanstalk using GitHub Actions. Elastic Beanstalk's managed environment like will took care of the deployment, scaling, and load balancing, allowing us to focus on your application. As like you continue to explore and work with like Spring Boot and AWS, remember that Elastic Beanstalk offer a convenient and efficient way to deploy your applications, whether they are simple web apps or more complex microservices architectures as well. If you found this video helpful, please give it thumbs up, subscribe to our channel for more tutorials, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified about our latest videos. In the further video, we'll just try to deploy a Spring Boot application where we will just connect database as well. So if you have any questions or run into any issues, feel free to leave a comment below. Thank you for watching, and happy coding. Have a great day ahead. Thanks.